Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Probably the biggest game of the year so far. Texas, Alabama, of course, was huge. The time it was played. We could run through a list of some really big games that have been played so far this year, 3-4 weeks into the season. None bigger than this one, though. Notre Dame and Ohio State this Saturday night, 7:30, I think that one kicks off. At Notre Dame. So this is, round two. They played a game at Ohio State last year. Ohio State won 21-10. Round two coming up this Saturday, 7:30. A monumental game, just a huge game. Two huge brands. I don't know. These worldwide brands here with Ohio State and Notre Dame. Both teams are undefeated. Both teams are highly ranked. We're going to get into all of that in today's video. I'm going to break it down a little bit. And I'm going to give you my prediction on the game. I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. But let's handle a little bit of business first. Forgot to do this in the Your Season is Over video. There's this graham cracker box here. Don't know anything about that. Florida. Let's turn you right. Hey, didn't that look better? There we go. Well, I'm so proud of Florida. Boy, they tried so hard. I really am proud of them. They tried really hard. Yeah, of course, the graham cracker box is staying on there. Come on. You still have graham cracker merch, which ain't no good. You still got graham cracker merch, which ain't no good. So you have to stay on there. And let's see. Only one other helmet is upside down. Here it is. This one. Where's the damn... Uh-oh. Should I do that in every video? I don't know. The Alabama helmet stays upside down, unfortunately. They've got to beat a ranked team. They've got a chance to do it this week. We'll see. They've got to beat a ranked team, turn their helmet back the right way. But anyway, so that's the only helmet left turned upside down for now. Is there any other helmet we should turn upside down, though? Has anybody just completely embarrassed themselves? I don't know. That we should turn upside down? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Now, as most of you know, you probably just know, even if you don't just know, maybe you've heard me say it, I'm not a stats person, generally speaking. When I think about a football game in terms of, who's going to win or lose or even cover the spread or whatever, I don't sit down and look up a bunch of stuff like, well, they're ranked this in total offense, or they're ranked this in running the ball, and the other team's defense is ranked this against the run, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I have a general understanding just because, you watch enough college football, you read enough stuff on the internet, you watch enough videos, you hear a lot of that stuff mentioned. Such and such team is 8th in the country in scoring. Such and such team is 90th in the country in pass defense, whatever. So you've got a general understanding, but I'm not a stats guy. I watch a lot of football, I form conclusions, and I pick games based on that. Sometimes I get them right, sometimes I get them wrong, but I did write some things down for this game. This is a tough matchup for me to pick. I'll be honest with you now. In the offseason, when I do my list of team-by-team predictions, I did pick Ohio State to win the game. However, once the season starts and you start seeing teams play, obviously I reserve the right to change. Well, I'm never going to change my preseason predictions. Preseason predictions are what they are. They're predictions you make about a season in the preseason, right? You'd be an idiot to just blindly follow your preseason predictions as the season goes along and you gain more information. So, just because I pick a certain team to win in the preseason doesn't always mean I still pick that team to win when that game comes around during the season. And this has been a tough game for me to pick this week. I've watched more Notre Dame than I have Ohio State, to be fair. Notre Dame's played one additional game, for one thing. They played in week 0. I watched all of that game because nothing else was on. I watched a good bit of the Notre Dame-NC State game. I planned on watching the whole Notre Dame-NC State game, but the weather delay and all that kind of messed up my TV viewing schedule for that day. With Ohio State, I watched just about the entire Indiana game, and I watched, half of their game this past week or so against Western Kentucky. So they're 3-0. Notre Dame is 4-0. I looked a few things up, 4-0, 3. So the rankings on these teams now. Notre Dame is ranked 9th in both the AP and the coaches poll. Ohio State is ranked 4th in one poll, 6th in the other. I view them a little bit differently in terms of the rankings. I do a rankings video every Monday. I updated mine yesterday. I've actually got Notre Dame ranked higher than Ohio State right now. I've got Notre Dame at 6 and Ohio State at 7. There's not much difference there between 6 and 7 in a ranking 3 or 4 weeks into the season when both teams are undefeated, especially considering the fact that they play this week. I really didn't have to put a lot of thought or time into where I was going to rank Notre Dame or Ohio State this week because one of them is going to win this week and move up, and one of them is going to lose and move down. So, I could easily flip-flop these and have Ohio State 6, Notre Dame 7. My general thoughts on these two teams and watching them over the first few weeks, Notre Dame has looked like a better team in the games they've played, in my opinion, than Ohio State has in the games they've played. Not that Ohio State has looked bad. They haven't. There hasn't been a single game Ohio State has played, in my opinion, where they looked bad. And not every highly ranked undefeated team can say that, right? Florida State struggled with Boston College. I mean, this past weekend was wild. Texas and Wyoming tied at 10 in the fourth quarter. Michigan only up 14-6 at halftime over whatever deadbeat they play. Georgia down 14-3 at halftime. So lots of teams have struggled and looked really bad. I don't think either of these teams has looked bad in a game all year. Ohio State struggled a little bit in that first game on the road at Indiana, at least in terms of passing the ball, but they had a first-year quarterback making his first ever start. No touchdown passes in that game. And while that was concerning at the time, considering the wide receiver talent that Ohio State has, that has improved from week to week since that week 1 matchup on the road at Indiana, and particularly last week, looked pretty good. Kyle McCord kind of coming into his own. And Ohio State's got an elite ground game that they can lean on while the passing game gets up to speed. Or should a game arise where, for whatever reason, Kyle McCord doesn't have a hot hand, they've got an elite ground game they can rely on. So there's no real, at least to me, standout problems or concerns with Ohio State. Notre Dame, similar feelings here. What really has Notre Dame done this year that would make you look at him and go, man, I don't know about that player, or I don't know about that side of the ball, offense or defense, or I don't know about that position group, whatever. They absolutely dominated Navy. They absolutely dominated Tennessee State. They had a good win on the road against NC State. I mean, Notre Dame's just come out and basically put away every opponent they've played from beginning to end. Sam Hartman is playing lights out. I mean, out of his mind football. Numbers through the roof. The best quarterback play Notre Dame has had at least since Brady Quinn. And he might be better than, he probably is better than Brady Quinn. Their running game, like Ohio State. Notre Dame and Ohio State, these are two balanced offenses. This isn't a case where one, some kind of team is relying only on the pass or the run. These two teams can beat you into submission on the ground with running game, and they can air it out and burn you quick, fast, and in a hurry with lethal downfield passing. Sam Hartman, 13 touchdowns, no interceptions. Already 1,000 yards. Again, that is through 4 games. Kyle McCord, 815 yards through 3 games. He's on the Sam Hartman pace there. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. You'd like to see more touchdown passes from McCord, just given the wide receiver talent that's at Ohio State. But we're nitpicking here. We're nitpicking here. Ohio State, Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams running the ball, 2 elite runners. Notre Dame's got a couple of really good backs. Estime, the best of the bunch there at Notre Dame. His numbers are insane through 4 games. 500 yards, 5 touchdowns through 4 games. He's averaging over 100 yards per game. Through 125 yards a game he's averaging. 5 touchdowns. 8.3 yards per carry. Again, I'm not a stats guy. You can watch Notre Dame play and just know that Estime is a really, really good running back. But in case some of you out there like to hear the stats, there they are. Last week, I wondered if one or both of these teams, Notre Dame or Ohio State, would struggle a little. They were playing vastly inferior competition, and this huge game is looming. I wondered if one or both of those teams may struggle, sleep, get caught looking ahead or whatever. Neither team did. Notre Dame came out and handled business against Central Michigan 41-17. Ohio State 63-10 over Western Kentucky. So nothing really there. Notre Dame defensively has given up 47 points total. Again, that's 4 games. You got to keep that in mind. Most teams have played 3 games. Notre Dame, because they played in week 0, has played 4. They've given up 47 points. That's only about 12 points a game. That's really, really good. But and y'all are probably already typing it now, but I understand the competition level that both of these teams have played. Okay, I get it. But when you play 3 or 4 games and you're giving up 12 points a game, yeah, I mean, come on. Now, does this mean I think Ohio State's going to hold Notre Dame to 12? No. Are they going to hold Michigan to 12? No. I understand that. But the point is, this Notre Dame defense is playing at a high level, giving up only 12 points per game. 2 good offenses. The defenses, although they have not been tested, both defenses have played well. I think NC State scored in the 20s on Notre Dame. I'll be honest with you, you've heard me say this a million times. If you give up 24 points, you should win 100% of the time, in my opinion. In today's college football, where the rules are geared towards offense, you can't touch the quarterback or the wide receivers. You got targeting calls to worry about. The linemen now are allowed to run downfield, even if it's a passing play in certain situations with RPOs and things like that. It's just a lot of the rules are sort of tilted towards the offense. If you're only giving up 24 points, you should win every single game you play. That's my opinion. I know some people disagree, but I'm just telling you, if you lose a game 24-20, it ain't your defense's fault, in my opinion. Now, I'm a Georgia fan. I'm a little spoiled when it comes to defense. We give up, 10, 11, 12 points a game for the last 2-3 years in a row. But I'll say the same thing with Georgia. If Georgia's defense has an off day and gives up 24, 26, 27, 28 points, I 100% believe Georgia should still win that game. And if they don't, in my mind, it's the offense's fault, not the defense. Well, the defense should have held them to 13. Listen, the offense got to score more than 30 points. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. So, they gave up 24 to NC State. Again, weird weather delay situation, rain. So, whatever. Take that for what it's worth. I guess that was their worst defensive performance of the year. But, again, take it for what it's worth. Here's some questions I have. The Ohio State defense, I think it has improved. Again, I understand the level of competition. When I watch Ohio State play this season, their defense looks faster. They look more aggressive. They look more disciplined. A lot less of getting just sort of pushed off the line of scrimmage, which you saw a lot last year. I'm not doing the jokes about them being soft. These are my honest observations about last year. I've seen obvious improvement. Tommy Eichenberg is playing really, really good. They've been a good to really good team defensively through the first week of the season. This will obviously be the biggest test of the season for both of these defenses. These are 2 elite offenses. I'm not going to be at all surprised if at the end of the year we look up and both of these teams are in the top 10, maybe even top 5 in terms of a lot of offensive categories. Total offense, passing offense, points per game, some of the major offensive categories. These are 2 really, really exciting offenses that can put up points. A real test for these defenses coming up this week. Ohio State scoring right now about 40 or 41 points per game. Notre Dame scoring a bunch of points. To me, as exciting as it is to talk about offense, and this is, look, Sam Hartman, Kyle McCord, Estime, Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, 3-4 NFL wide receivers running around the field for Ohio State. Some surprisingly good Notre Dame wide receivers, which we haven't seen in a while. How much of that credit goes to Sam Hartman? A lot of it, but I do think in general the Notre Dame wide receivers are just better. I also think the wide receivers are just better than they have been at Notre Dame. Obviously, having a high-level quarterback like Sam Hartman helps, but just in general, the wide receivers are better. So we all know about their offense. The question, this game's going to come down to a couple of different things to me. And maybe one of them has to do with offense. But to me, this is a defensive, in terms of who might win this game, it's trying to figure things out defensively, in my opinion. Notre Dame is going to have to figure out a way, I think, to get pressure on Kyle McCord. He's a first-year starter at quarterback, okay? We're still early in the year. This will be his 4th start. And while he's looked really, really good at times, he's looked like a first-year starter at times. And any quarterback, veteran, freshman, or anywhere in between, is not nearly as good of a passer under pressure as they are when they're not, right? If I'm Notre Dame, I am going to find out early in this game, can Kyle McCord handle the pressure? Can he stand in the pocket, deliver a strike to Marvin Harrison or Emeka Ibuka, knowing he's about to take a big hit, right? Does he get happy feet? Does he start dancing around? Does he take off scrambling too soon or too often? If I'm Notre Dame, I'm finding that out early defensively. And turnovers. And this is obvious in any game, but turnovers are going to be huge in this game. This could be a shootout situation. I'm not talking in the 50s, but I'm not going to be surprised if both these teams get into the 30s. Can Notre Dame's defense steal a couple of possessions from Ohio State? Because I'm going to be honest, I do feel like Ohio State's offense is a little more explosive than Notre Dame's. I do. I think Notre Dame's offense is really, really good. Again, we're comparing top 5, top 10 offenses here, in my opinion. So to say that one is better than the other is not an insult to the other, I don't think. For Ohio State, this game being at Notre Dame is huge for both Notre Dame and obviously home field advantage. Kyle McCord has played a road game, that week 1 game at Indiana. 0 touchdown passes. Now, that was his first game. How does he handle this road environment here, I think, is a huge, huge question mark. Can he rise to the occasion on the road in a hostile environment in a just regular season college football games just don't get any bigger than this unless they occur at the end of the season, because they tend to mean more because of the immediate impact the result on the game will have. The result of this game is going to have a huge impact on this college football season. The impact is just might not be immediate, right? Because whoever loses this game, it's just one loss. Technically, they could still go on to make the playoffs. So the only way this game could be any bigger is if, think Michigan, Ohio State, if they're both 12-0 and they play that like last game of the regular season. Like this, the impact, the repercussions of that game are immediate. Right? You win, you get to play next week. You lose, you don't. With the Big 12, with the Big 10 title game, this game is huge. It can't be overstated. How does Kyle McCord handle that? Because we've not really seen him play in a big game at all. The biggest game he's played in was week 1 at Indiana, and it was only a big game because it was his first start. And really, he wasn't even technically the starter. He started the game, but if you remember, Ryan Day was going back and forth the first couple of weeks between him and Devin Brown before finally settling on Kyle McCord. So how does he handle that? And Ohio State's defense is going to have to hold up. And that's a legitimate question to ask, because if you look at Ohio State's problems over the last couple of years, including last year, almost every game they've lost in the last 2 years, I believe you can solely point the finger at the defense. Against Michigan, you've given up between 200 and 300 yards rushing a game. You go back to the Oregon game at home 2 seasons ago that they lost. Oregon ran for almost 300 yards. The Michigan game 2 years ago, same thing. The Georgia game, Georgia's defense didn't play great either, but Ohio State's defense just broke down in the second half. I mean, Ohio State had a 14-point lead against Georgia 2 different times in that game, including the fourth quarter, and the defense just broke down, just let them down, couldn't stop a nosebleed in the second half. They're going to have to rise to the occasion here. The defense and Kyle McCord at quarterback, to me, are the 2 biggest questions I have about Ohio State in this game. Never seen Kyle McCord play in a big game. I've seen Ohio State's defense play in a lot of big games over the last 2 years, and they've lost every single one of them. If you name me the 3-4 biggest games Ohio State has played in the last 2 years, Oregon, Michigan twice, and Georgia. Those are the 4 biggest games Ohio State has played in the last 2 years. They lost them all because the defense let them down. The defense is going to have to rise to the occasion here in Kyle McCord. For Notre Dame, Sam Hartman, while he's never played in a game of this magnitude, I would argue, has so much college experience. I feel like he is better suited to perform in this game than either Kyle McCord or the Ohio State defense. I have less questions about Sam Hartman's ability to perform in this game than I do about Kyle McCord or the Ohio State defense. I don't I don't doubt Kyle McCord overall. I don't doubt Ohio State's defense overall. I already told you I think they're a better defense this year. This is their first real test, and it's coming in just an absolute monster, an absolute monster of a game. Also, the game is being played at Notre Dame, and for those reasons, I'm picking Notre Dame not just to cover the 3.5 point spread. Ohio State's favored by 3.5. I think Notre Dame wins the game outright at home. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a back and forth game. I think both teams will lead at different points in the game. But when it comes down to it, if this game is close in the second half, and I think it will be, particularly in the fourth quarter, where every possession starts to matter, the crowd gets louder and louder, the tension and the anxiety get ratcheted up. For me, it comes down to who do I trust more in that critical situation last 10 minutes of the game? Is it Sam Hartman, a veteran Notre Dame offensive line, and a defense that's played well all year? Or is it Kyle McCord making his fourth ever start in an Ohio State defense that I haven't seen play good in a big game in 3 years? I trust the Notre Dame thing more, and the home field advantage is just sort of the icing on the cake that tips me fully in that direction. I don't intend this as a shot at Ohio State. I 100% think Ohio State has a chance to win this, a great chance to win this game. I would not be surprised if Ohio State wins this game. They're the more talented team. And in the world of college football, the more talented team wins more times than not. But they don't always win. That's why we play these games. If the more talented team won every single time, we wouldn't have to play the games. We could just figure out ahead of time which team has more talent on it and just announce them the winner, right? This is why we play these games. Notre Dame's really, really talented. Again, saying Ohio State's the more talented team is not an insult at Notre Dame. I know on the internet, especially, fans get mad if you say anything other than, they're the greatest team in the history of history and every single player is a potential Heisman winner. Again, we are comparing two top 10 teams here, two teams that could potentially be top 5 teams by the time it's all said and done. We're comparing two teams with elite offenses, top 5 offenses in all of college football. And we're comparing two of the biggest brands in the history of college football. To say that one of these two teams is slightly better than the other in any one particular area or another is not an insult to the other team. Both of these teams are really, really good on both sides of the ball. Both have elite playmakers. Both have quarterbacks that can sling the ball around. Obviously you're going to lean Ohio State in terms of the edge at wide receiver. And I am curious, if Notre Dame loses this game, I think it's going to be because their DBs can't hold up against Ohio State's wide receivers. If Ohio State wins, or if Notre Dame loses, I think that will be a big reason why. This Notre Dame secondary is going to be tested like they've never been tested before. And if Ohio State wins the game, I think it's going to be because Notre Dame's secondary fails that test. That's why I think it's so important Notre Dame tries to get pressure on Kyle McCord, get him rattled. The quarterback can't complete a pass if he can't throw the pass, if he's laying on his back. I think it's very important that Notre Dame takes some pressure off of that secondary by trying to get pressure on Kyle McCord. But I just think in the end, I'm going to go with Notre Dame here. Home game. I trust Sam Hartman at this point in his career a little bit more than I do Kyle McCord. And it just kind of feels like Notre Dame's due for a big win. I know that doesn't really matter in the world of college football. None of the players or anybody on this team cares what Notre Dame did yesterday, last year, or 10 years ago. None of that matters. It just kind of feels like they're due to win one of these big games. I think they get it done at home. I'm going to take Notre Dame to win the game outright over Ohio State, 34-30. Have a good morning.